Hi there, thanks for joining me. I'm very excited because I'm going to be talking about all things Rowney System 3, and in a minute I'm going to take you on my Wow Effects workshop. What does that mean? Well, it's all about incorporating all of the Rowney art materials, all the System 3 art materials into one crazy piece of artwork. So we'll be using the acrylics, the original and heavy body, the inks, and even a bit of screen printing as well. So loads of colour and loads of effect. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Jenny Muncaster. I'm a professional artist working from the Colour Factory studios down in Winchester. And I'm passionate about sharing a lot of the techniques that I've developed in my own work as an artist. And it's very much process-led. So really easy to do, and more about letting the art materials kind of do their thing, do their magic. So I'll be sharing some tips and tricks along the way and showing you some really lovely techniques. But yeah, so first of all, I'll just really quickly whiz through the art materials that we're going to be using. So first of all, going to be looking at the System 3 acrylics, the original acrylics. And they're really lovely, buttery consistency, really smooth. Come in, I think there's over 50 colours in metallics and fluorescents included as well. What is not to like about that? And they can be used on all sorts of different surfaces. I mean, you could paint literally anything and everything, and they can be used indoors and outdoors. So they're the originals. And then something that's a little bit new to me, the heavy body paints, the System 3 heavy body. And you know what, I'm really loving these because we can get a lot more texture with them, and I really like to kind of like use that in my artwork, using a palette knife with them to create lots of texture, and impasto techniques. So looking at those in the artwork in a minute. And then we've got the inks as well, so the System 3 inks, and very similar properties to all the acrylic paints, but in an ink. Really lovely. I think there's 26 colours. Yeah, so and what's great about all of these art materials, so you've got your inks, your original acrylics and your heavy body, is that all the colours are consistent across those art products. So if I'm using a magenta in the original acrylics, it will be the same in the inks, the same colour in the inks, and the same magenta in the heavy body. And that's actually really great, really good if you're into mixed media or using a limited palette and you know that your colour is going to be consistent across the range. Oh, and also I've got to show you this. So we're going to be doing some screen printing as well. I'm going to grab the box lid. So the screen printing kit, you can get really professional results with that, and it is very straightforward. I promise you, it's really easy to do. So I'll be talking about that a little bit later on and showing you how we can incorporate it into that artwork. And again, all the acrylics and all the art materials that we're using in the screen printing as well, they're all water-based, so really safe to use. And you can print on fabric as well. Loving that. You're going to have your own little production line going. So, okay, let's get started on the Wow Effects workshop. So what am I using as a surface to paint on? Well, I'm using the System 3 art board, and it's really sturdy. And it's great because I'm going to be chucking a lot of paint and water and layering things up. To me, that is a great surface to work on, and it comes pre-primed like that, and it's even got a little a slight linen texture to it, so really robust. And that's what I'm going to be working on. So I just think we should get going because I want to get a little bit of colour on here. So the first technique I'm going to show you is my little water technique, and it's really good fun, really easy. I'm going to take some colour. So I want to actually start off with a yellow colour. So I've got some cadmium yellow in the originals, and do you know what, I'm simply gonna chuck it on like this, put a bit in the middle. I want to coat my board really quickly. I'm not going to use a brush, I'm going to use a sponge. This is really easy, so take a clean sponge and just literally, look at that, ding 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 ding. How easy easy is that? One coat. You almost don't even need to look what you're doing. And I think that is a lot easier than using a brush and taking ages to get some coverage. There we go. Transformed from white to yellow. So that was just one even coat of the cadmium yellow with my sponge. So that's the first layer. Now, before we move on, I've got to make sure that that layer of paint is dry. So I've got my air dryer here. Gonna give it a quick blast. Do that really, really quickly. And just check with my hand, no paint's coming off, like that. And do you know what, oh, it's loud. It doesn't have to be perfect, that surface. If you've got a few bits of white, it really doesn't have to be perfect, just to get a layer on for the effect. Let's finish that off actually with a little bit damp still. Give that a blast. Yep, I think that'll do. And then the next colour I'm going to layer up, I'm going to take my turquoise, so that's the original System 3 as well, and I'm not using a palette as such, but I've got an old ceramic plate here. I often use those as palettes. A little bit on there like that. Right, now, this is where it starts to get interesting. So I'm going to put my turquoise paint on in a second layer, using the sponge again. I'll use the other side, the clean side. But the effect that I'm going to do relies on a sort of dripping water effect while that paint layer is still wet, and I'm going to be using a water spray, but I just want to make sure before I start that that water spray is coming out okay, because I've got a little window of opportunity while that paint is still wet and I don't want to miss out. So let's just make sure, yep, that's working all right. So it's coming out in a stream, just check that. That's ready to go. Got my sponge, the clean bit. Right, are we ready to go? I'm going to dip my sponge into the blue paint like that. And what I want to do is get one even layer on my board. So I've got to work really quickly. Let's go, let's go. Okay, go, 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 go. Put that on really quickly, really quickly. A little bit more, cover, cover, cover. It's not about putting texture on with the sponge, it's just getting one even layer. Oh, golly, it's a bit of a workout. Get it on, get it on, get it on. And then grab your water spray really quickly and dip, 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 dip. Get some drops on your canvas like that and get it covered, not completely, but just lots of little drops, and I don't know why I'm talking like that, lots of little drops and spots like that. So not flooding the board completely, just getting this effect of these drops and spots like that. So there we go, that's sort of almost there, but I want to add another little pattern of water. I'm going to put my hand in the water bucket and do a little bit of flicky. So get my hand in and just simply flick, 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 like that, flick, 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 flick. And yeah, so I've got these spots of water and then I've got these like little spatters on top while that blue paint is still wet. So you do have to work quickly with this. Don't start and then answer your phone or anything like that. You've got to kind of keep with the technique. Okay, so we've got the drops, we've got the spatter, and now while that water's sitting on top, I'm just going to give it a little twist around like that. Little bit of wobble. Oh, quite like that wobble sound. Give it a little bit of wobble like that. And what have we got? Now, I don't know if you can see that, but there's kind of like a really interesting pattern where the water's kind of moved around and we've got that spattery and drippy effect, kind of like in that. Okay, what do we do now? So the next stage of this is we've got to dry, really dry that turquoise paint layer, but keep the water wet. I've got a fly in my eye. So I'm going to take my hairdryer and give it a good blast, but not for too long, for about 5 or 10 seconds. Dry the blue paint layer, but keep the water wet, so keep looking. Okay, let's go. Let's go. So keep looking, make sure you're not over drying. Just want to dry where the blue paint is. I'm going to rank up the hairdryer a bit, crank it up a bit. And keep looking. Almost there. So what will happen? Turn this off, you can't hear me. Okay, so what's going to happen? I think that's probably about right. In order to check that you've kind of got it right, is just make sure, have a little look at eye level, and the water should be glossy and wet and shiny still, and the blue paint kind of goes matte where it's drying. I think that's about right. Right, take not that dirty old sponge. That is going in the bucket down there to wash. I want a clean bit of sponge. Just gonna give it a little bit of water and squeeze most of it out, so just damp sponge. And then it's a case of sweeping the wet layer of water away, and we'll see what we get. Are we ready to go? Fingers crossed it's going to work. And take your sponge and sweep the water layer away. Let's have a little bit more clean water on the sponge as we do this. And again, kind of liking that effect. And again, just keep going across your boards, taking that wet paint layer away like that, and rinsing your sponge out. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but actually that turquoise paint is on the sponge, and we want to keep cleaning the sponge, otherwise you're just putting a dirty paint layer back on your artwork. Let's go the other way and turn my sponge, just taking that blue paint layer away, and again let's get a bit more effect, put a bit of welly into it. Actually, as it starts to dry, I can start to use my sponge to take that top layer off and reveal the yellow paint. So that was that cadmium yellow that we started off with. Every time you do this, it's going to be different depending on what happens to the water, what kind of pattern the water makes. So just use your sponge. That is amazing. It's almost like a sort of batik effect, like that. So you can see the spatters and the drips making the pattern. Right, I think I've done enough cleaning of that layer. Let's have another look. Lovely effect. Okay, I need to dry this layer because I'm going to do that again, but with a different colour and in a slightly different way. So a bit of hair drying again. Just dry the paint. I'm so patient. I always have a hair dry because I can never wait for anything to dry with my artwork. Get the hair dryer out. Come on, dry. That's about done. A little bit longer. So, I'll tell you in a minute. The thing that I was going to say about acrylic paint is that once it's dry, it's pretty much water resistant, which is why we can use these acrylics outdoors as well. And also why my apron is covered in paint, and even if it's gone in the washing machine, it's not going to come off. So that's why, if you like that first layer of design that you've got, dry it, make sure it's really dry before you do the next one so it doesn't come away. Okay, let's do that again, but with a different colour. I'm going to take my magenta now. Let's get a little bit of that on my plate, and another sponge. And just make sure that's not too wet. Make sure it's not dripping. So you'll notice that I haven't added any water with the paints because they're just lovely as they are straight out of the tube for this technique. into the pink. This time I'm going to do something a little bit different. So I won't go everywhere with the magenta. I'm going to do the kind of like, little sort of randomy thing across like that. Again, work quickly. Work quickly. She says, come on, get that next layer on. It's quite nice when you can see a little bit of the layer underneath as well. A little bit more on there. Sort of randomly put on, quick, get me water. Right, this time I'm going to use a plastic cup. Get it in the water. I'm going to make a pattern with the water using the rim dipped in the water. I must remember to work quickly so that pink layer, that magenta paint doesn't dry. Get it in there, and a nice bit of pattern where the water is just sitting on the rim of that cup, and I can just about see it. A little bit there. And you sometimes have to kind of get your artwork in the right light so you can see what's going on with this water. A little bit more maybe. And then a little bit more. I think that's about right. So you might just be able to see the water sitting on top. Hold it sort of at eye level to check. And then again, it's out with that hairdryer again, drying that magenta paint, but keeping the water wet. So don't over dry. You'll get this. You'll do it 1 or 2 times and you will totally get this, I promise you. It's just lovely each time you do this. Playing around with colour and effect. So keep looking. Get a good dry. Always check with your finger. So it's just getting the drying times right. Keep looking, make sure your water's wet. I think that's about right. Don't sweep away with that sponge because it's got the pink paint on it in the bucket. Let's grab a clean one. A little bit of water on there because I want to clean off the water and painty layer. So let's have a look at this, see what we've got. Ready? Ooh. And again, just keep going. Ooh, nice. And again, so just cleaning the sponge as we go and gently pull it through. Wow, like that little effect. So that's our magenta layer on with the cup, making those lovely little prints. Really, really lovely. Just give it a little dab. And then I need to dry it again before I do the next layer, which I think I'm going to get a screen print out. Give it a dry. There, I think that's probably enough. Yeah, you can really see the rings where the cup has made that pattern. Right, I think, yeah, let's get that screen out and have a little go with that. So, a la Blue Peter style, here's one I did earlier. It is, I promise you, it really is quite straightforward, the process of creating a screen, and you do get brilliant results. So I've just sort of taken a pattern and repeated it across because I want to make it quite sort of decorative, this piece. And I'm just going to lay it down on top of my artwork. And so it's really, really easy to create the screen. So basically all you're doing with your sort of open mesh to start off with is whatever design you're going to do, you paint it in with your drawing fluid, which is in a little pot like that. Wait for that to dry, and when that's dry, pull some screen block across your screen with a squeegee. That's that sort of lovely red ox bloody sort of colour, and you're pulling that across. Let that dry, and then we wash the screen, and where your drawing fluid was actually washes out and reveals the the mesh, the clear mesh. So that's how you get your design, and that's where our printing ink is going to go through the open mesh. So it's really, really easy, I promise you. Okay, so where do I want this design? Let's kind of put it to one side, across, just a strip across, I think. I don't know, let's, yeah, put it on there. Okay, and I've pre-mixed a little bit of screen printing ink up in my pot. And again, we have some screen printing medium, and you can choose any colour from the System 3 acrylic range. Mix it up about 50-50, and yeah, give it a good mix in the pot. I've just chosen white because I really want it to show up. This is going to be a bit of a crazy colourful piece of art, but I just want all the layers to show up so you can see. So yeah, mix it 50-50 with acrylic and the medium, and you're ready to go. So let's put some of that down, and you don't actually need too much. There we go. And we're going to pull it through with my squeegee. There's my squeegee. Pop it down like that and simply pull it through. It's quite exciting, this. Like that. Just going to take the excess ink and just pop it back in my pot, because you can use that again and again. So always not put that back in there, like that, and I'm going to lift up and show you like that. Put that there for a minute. There we go. I love it. Just really, really beautiful bit of pattern. So it could be any design that you want to. So another layer of effect. It's great to be using all these things together. Now that's going to take a few minutes to dry, and while that's dry, I'm going to go and wash my screen out. Well, the print's all dry now, and my screen's washed and ready to use again another time as well. And I want to do another layer of effect, and something I bought from home, my grouting tool. I'm hoping that if I pull this through some wet paint, it's going to make quite an interesting layer of effect. You could use a wide tooth comb, or in fact just use the end of a paintbrush pulled through paint. So let's have a little go with that. So I want to do a layer on the side there. Just going to get a little bit of scrap paper and a brush and some of that heavy body paint again. Get a bit of yellow on there. I'm going to add a little bit of white into the mix as well, and I'm just going to do a quick sort of painted strip along that edge. Just make sure that's about the width of my grouting tool. And again, we've got to work quite quickly here because I don't want that paint to dry before I take my tool through to make an effect. Okay, let's go. So get a layer on just with that big brush. Got a bit of white in there as well. Just see what happens. Play around with sort of any colour palette that you want to. I quite like those. Oh, I quite like that streaky bit in as well. And grab my tool and pull it through like that. Okay, let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, quite like that. That's quite a nice effect, just simply using that tool, or anything similar. I quite like the way that other colours, the water techniques peeping through. Right, that can go in my bucket to wash. Use that again. Right, I want to do something on this side now. Other things that I bought in. So packaging, bubble wrap. I'm sure you've done a little bit of printing with bubble wrap before. I love this technique, it's so simple. I'm going to use the same colours. Look, I've got that yellow and white again. So taking my 1-inch brush and just gently taking it across the surface of the bubble wrap. So you don't want to sort of dig it in and get the paint in the texture. You just want it to sit on top, because that's where you want your pattern to come out. So something like that. You could use any sort of packaging, cardboard strips for printing as well. That's quite good. Right, where should we put this? Let's put a bit up there, about there, and simply push it down like that. I quite like it when things overlay, go on top of each other. We'll just see what we get, shall we? Just so you can see, and pull away. Yeah, that's come out quite nicely. Let's do that again. So I'm going to do that again with a little bit more somewhere else. Let's have a think. Where can we do that? Oh, I'm going to use a little bit more of that white. Let's have a little bit coming in the corner, just playing around with the lead effect. Oh, maybe just a little bit there as well. Pull away. Oh, and that can go in my bucket to wash, to use again. So you can see how we're layering up texture and colour and pattern. Right, what should we do now? Oh, okay, yes, I know. This is a really lovely idea, using the heavy body acrylics, because they've got that lovely sort of slightly thicker consistency. And I love to use stencils in my artwork. It's something that I do quite a lot with pattern, overlaying pattern and effect. I mean, you could cut your own stencils as well, so you could sort of make your own patterns. Let's have a go with this one. I'm going to put some, oh, let's go for a bit of red. Let's go for something bold, I don't know, and a bit of yellow. I'm going to put some more yellow on my palette as well. And where should we do this? I'm going to do one right over that circle pattern, because I like the idea of overlaying. Right, should we go for that? It's a bit bold. Let's go for the, oh, let's take a bit of that yellow. We picked up a bit of the yellow there, and we'll see what happens. And simply take your palette knife and your paint and just gently, kind of like icing a little biscuit. Mary Berry, you better watch out. So, oh look, I'm sort of varying my colour there. I quite like that. Oh, bit of that one. Oh, what have I got on there? A little bit more of that red. So you can do this as thick or as sort of thin as you like, just depending on how much pressure you put on your palette knife. Get that in there, get that in there, get that in there. A bit more yellow. Ooh, oh, I'm going a bit thick there, quite like that. Bit meaty. And then I'm going to hold this up. I think you can see. Can I grab a corner? Let's see if I can grab a corner and pull away. How's that come out? Oh, nice. I kind of quite like the way that overlays. Let's do another one. Can I do another one? Let's do one. Oh, I kind of like going to fit it in on the corner there. So just peeping through from the corner. Oh, I've got quite a bit on there. Oh, what am I like? I can't resist a bit of meaty texture. And I quite like that pattern, the way we're sort of repeating the pattern. So this is the yummy bit. This is the sort of wow bit, really. And pull away. Oh, I went right thick with the paint there. Oh, I love it. Should we do another one? One more. Okay, one more. One more. And a little bit of yellow. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to get some of that white as well. I quite like it when you've got a little bit of a pop of colour. So let's just go with a bit of white in there as well. I'm making this up as I go along. So let's have one coming in from the bottom Oh, look at that. So just experiment with colour and effect. You can't really go wrong. There are no mistakes with this, and it is just paint after all. Ooh, I don't know how this one's going to come out. Let's take that away. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I kind of quite like that. That is a real zing of colour. Gorgeous. Right, that stencil can go in my bucket to wash as well, and I'll reuse that. Right, what shall we do now? Or a little bit more printing, I think. And so we're looking at the bubble wrap, things that you could possibly find around the house. Cups, plastic cups, paper cups. What else could we use? Cork. Oh, I've got some corks here. Oh, this is interesting. This is that insulating foam that goes around your pipes, and that can make a really interesting print. Let's have a look at that. That can go in the water to wash. Right, let's get some more colour. Oh, I've got a little bit of white there, but I'm going to add some of my blue heavy body now. So sometimes I don't worry too much if I kind of mix a few colours together, or I've got a little bit of a colour on my brush that I wasn't planning. Sort of go with it, really. Let's have a go with this cup. So just using that rim again. So this is the cup that we used to do the water technique. So let's have a little go, putting some of that heavy body on and thinking where we could do this. Again, picking up on that sort of circle theme. Just playing around. That's quite nice. Let's do a little bit more of that. I'm going to go with a bit darker. So again, just painting the rim of the cup like that. Let's do a few over here as well, bringing that design through, maybe a little one down there. Oh, I don't know, we could keep going and going. Let's have a go with these, with this foam. And I'm going to go in a bit darker there. And I'm just going to kind of put it straight in the paint and see what we get. Oh, a little bit of that white. Where should we go with this? Where should we go with this? Let's do a little group along the bottom there. Oh, that is very satisfying using that foam. I want to do that again. Dip it in. Let's do, oh, something down here as well. It's kind of spongy and painty and delicious. So a little bit of that going on. Oh, I've got my cork as well. Oh, I'm going to go in with the white. Oh, get that in there. There's an excuse to open another bottle of wine tonight. We need some more corks. Where should we go with this one? I'm going to go along the top. So kind of going with this little circle theme. Let's go around that textury bit as well. Playing around, having a bit of fun. Should I do a bit more? Let's go down here as well. So cork, all sorts of things that we can print with, and just building up our pattern and our design. Right, so we've done the heavy bodies, we've done a bit of printing. Oh, let's have a look at the inks. Let's just finish up with a little pop of colour from those pots of ink. And I'm actually going to start off, having said that, I'm going to start off with something quite bold. So I'm going to take the black, and I've got a little idea for this. Where's my brush? Oh, here it is. This is my fan brush, and traditionally artists would use something like that for creating some really nice effects in their sort of landscapes, maybe for creating sort of leaves on trees and foliage, for softening paint, maybe in clouds. So they're sort of quite funny brushes, aren't they? But I'm going to use mine for something a little bit different, and I'm going to use black only because I just really want it to show up so you can see how this works. So get something really kind of graphic happening. So take the brush, and I'm going to pop it into the ink like that, give it a good old dip in, and then you can see that I'm just gonna kind of take it across the rim of the pot, and you'll see that the bristles have separated and created quite a nice little pattern there. So before that dries, I'm going to take it through an area of the artwork. So where should we go? I'm going to hold the end and just do a nice sweep through. Let's just go, oh, should we do through here? A kind of sweep through like that. Ooh, and I kind of really love the way it creates those very kind of solid fine lines all in sort of like little train tracks. Let's do that again. I'm going to do another one. Pop that in there. Ideally we'd wait for our paint layer to dry, but I'm just kind of going for it. I love this little technique, and I've become very fond of this fan brush. Let's do another one. Let's go somewhere else. Let's go in the other corner. Something across. Okay, so let's just go across this little corner here, like that. So all those little fine lines created with the bristles from that fan brush. And you know what, I think that'd be quite difficult to do, to replicate that with a tiny brush, keep doing all the lines. In fact, I don't really use little tiny brushes for very much at all. I love that. That's that fan brush and the ink. And finally, I can't resist, because I do like a little bit of pink. I like a bit of something fluorescent in the System 3 ink. Let's have a little look at this. Now it comes with a little dropper. So I want to try and just do a little few drops. Let's just see if I can do a few little drops over that black line work. So take the ink out and do a little bit of spattery. Ooh, there we go. I never quite know how this is going to come out, either in one blob or a few little. Oh, let's get a bit more like that. Ooh, oh yes, and a little bit over that one as well. A little bit of, I love that pop of fluorescent pink. It's mad, isn't it? And we could even make that splatter, kind of splat a bit more with my straw. I love this. Let's give it a little blow with the straw and see what we get. Yes, I'm liking that. Let's do a little bit there as well. I have to get right on this. I kind of like it over that that black. Really nice. I wonder if I can hold this up without it dripping too much. I love, have a little go with the straw and the ink, seeing what different effects you can get building it up. Yum. And last but not least, because I like a bit of bling, got to have a little bit of gold on there, just a few little flicky bits here and there. And with my pipette, if I can do that, ooh, a little bit of flicky with the gold. Oh, that is nice. I like that. Ooh, flicky, flicky, flicky over that texture. That is nice. Oop, didn't mean to do that. Let's get another little, I'm going to do another splat with that. Make it run. That is gorgeous. Oh, actually I quite like that. So I'm going to do another one of those. Bing, 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 bing. And do you know what? I think that is so much fun. I've had fun. I hope I've inspired you. Just, this is going to drip, but let's have a little look at those, all those lovely layers of colour and effect. So much fun and so easy to do. Well, I hope I've inspired you with all things Daler Rowney System 3. And the main thing is to have a go, have fun, keep creating, and I'll see you soon.